The halls of the Galaxia Academy for Xenical Studies were abuzz with excitement. Students from countless worlds had gathered for the start of a new semester. Orin, a bright-eyed Venusian, clutched her data slate tightly as she navigated the crowded corridors. Her antennae twitched with curiosity as she entered the lecture hall for her comparative planetology class. As soon as Orin walked in, her eyes were drawn to a lone figure sitting in the back row. It was a pale, bipedal creature with no discernible exoskeleton or sensory appendages. Its unprotected skin seemed fragile, and its lack of visible defenses made Orin shudder. "Who is that?" she whispered to her friend Zelik, a reptilian humanoid from Epsilon Prime. Zelik followed her gaze and hissed, "I hear it's a new student from a planet called Earth. Apparently, it's a death world, but I don't know much more than that." Orin's eyes widened in astonishment. Death worlds were the stuff of legends. Planets so hostile and unforgiving that it seemed impossible for any life to thrive there. Yet here was a living creature from such a place, sitting calmly among them as if it were the most natural thing in the universe. As the lecture began, Orin found herself unable to concentrate. Her thoughts constantly drifted back to the strange new student from Earth. Weeks passed, and Orin's fascination with the Earthling only grew. Despite her initial trepidation, she found herself drawn to the creature's quiet strength and unwavering determination. It seemed to possess an inner resilience that belied its fragile appearance. One day, their professor, a wizened Arcturian named Xanth, announced an upcoming assignment. "Each of you will research and present on the unique challenges and dangers of your home world," he said, his eyes flickering across the classroom. "This will help us better understand the diverse environments that have shaped the cultures and adaptations of the galaxy's sentient species." Orin's mind raced with excitement. This was her chance to finally learn about the death world called Earth and the enigmatic creature that called it home. The day of the death world presentations arrived, and Orin could barely contain her anticipation. She watched intently as her classmates took the lectern one by one, regaling them with tales of the unique perils found on their respective home worlds. Zelik, her Epsilon Prime friend, spoke of the planet's acidic atmospheric conditions and the need for envirosuits during surface excursions. Triss, a bulky being from a high-gravity planet, described the crushing forces and the muscular adaptations required to survive. An armor-plated student from Creos 5 detailed the treacherous lava fields and seismic upheavals that made every step on their world a calculated risk. However, it was the human student's turn that all awaited with bated breath. As the pale, unassuming figure took the lectern, a hush fell over the hall. "My home planet is called Earth," the human began, their voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of solemnity. "It is a world that will test the limits of your imagination." With a series of deft commands, the human summoned a holographic projection, casting an image of a striking blue-green sphere into the air before them. "This is Earth." At first glance, Earth may seem like a paradigm of tranquility, the human continued. But buried beneath its placid facade lies a realm of unspeakable dangers. The projection shifted, revealing a vast frozen expanse blanketed in endless white. "This is Antarctica, one of Earth's polar regions," the human explained. "Here, temperatures can plummet to -90 degrees Celsius, cold enough to freeze the very air you breathe." Gasps of disbelief rippled through the audience as the human described the howling winds, the months of perpetual darkness, and the colossal predatory mammals that prowled the ice in search of prey. But the human was just getting started. The projection transitioned to a scorching desert, the shimmering sand stretching as far as the eye could see. In the Sahara, you would be baked alive by relentless sunlight and temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius, the human said gravely. "And that's if you don't succumb to dehydration first." Orin felt her mouth go dry at the mere thought of such an inhospitable environment. Yet the humans' tales only grew more chilling from there. They spoke of tremendous storms capable of leveling entire cities, of towering geological upheavals that spewed forth molten rock and poisonous gases, and of vast churning oceans where leviathans the size of starships lurked in the inky depths. But it was the humans' description of Earth's fauna that truly sent shock waves through the audience. Holograms of nightmarish creatures flickered to life before their eyes, gargantuan reptiles with jaws powerful enough to shatter durasteel, serpents whose very gaze could induce paralysis, and insectoid horrors armed with venomous stingers capable of felling even the most robust life forms. Oren's eyes went wide with horror as the human detailed the gruesome feeding habits of these apex predators, their intricate methods of stalking and killing their prey. And these, the human said, their voice taking on a somber tone, are but a few of the dangers we Earthlings must contend with on a daily basis. The human paused, allowing the weight of their words to hang in the air for a moment before continuing. But perhaps no region of Earth better exemplifies the brutality of our world than the island continent of Australia. With a few deft commands, the hologram shifted, revealing a sun-baked expanse of rugged outback terrain and twisted, alien-looking vegetation. In the Australian outback, one of the most immediate threats comes from the harsh environment itself, the human explained. Blistering heat, drought conditions, and an unforgiving landscape where the smallest lapse in judgment could mean certain death for the unprepared. Oren shuddered, imagining the treacherous conditions the human described. But it's the wildlife of Australia that truly sets it apart as one of Earth's most hazardous realms. The human's words carried a weight that commanded the undivided attention of every student present. A new hologram materialized, depicting a squat reptilian creature covered in bony plates. This is the saltwater crocodile, one of the most formidable predators found on Earth, the human said grimly. A fully grown adult can exceed 7 meters in length and possesses a bite force capable of crushing the skull of a large mammal with ease. As the human's presentation concluded, the students of Galaxia Academy were left in awe of the sheer resilience required to survive on Earth. Oren, in particular, felt a deep respect for the quiet strength and determination of the human, whose calm demeanor belied the incredible challenges faced by their kind on the death world called Earth. Gasps and murmurs of disbelief rippled through the audience as the hologram brought the crocodile's massive jaws into stark relief, row upon row of serrated teeth glinting in the projection's pale light. But the human was just getting started. Saltwater crocodiles are far from the only danger lurking in the Australian wilds, they continued, their expression grave. The continent is home to some of the most venomous creatures known to science. The inland taipan, the box jellyfish, the Sydney funnel-web spider, the human listed off in quick succession. Any one of these animals possesses enough potent neurotoxin to kill a dozen full-grown humans within minutes. A collective shudder ran through the audience, their minds struggling to comprehend such catastrophic lethality existing in the natural world. And let us not forget, the human added, the vast array of microscopic pathogens, parasites, and environmental hazards that have claimed countless lives throughout Earth's history. Images of devastating illnesses, raging wildfires, and catastrophic geological events played out in rapid succession, driving home the sheer breadth of dangers that shaped the human experience. As the presentation reached its climax, Oren found herself overwhelmed by a maelstrom of emotions. Awe at the resilience of the human species, fear at the sheer hostility of their home world, and a lingering sense of disbelief that any life could emerge from such a place, let alone an intelligent, spacefaring civilization. When at last the holograms winked out and the human fell silent, a heavy pall descended upon the lecture hall. No one dared to speak, their minds still reeling from the deluge of information they had just absorbed. It was then that Oren realized the true gravity of what it meant to hail from a death world. The humans were not mere survivors. They were warriors forged in the most unforgiving of crucibles. Their very existence was a testament to the indomitable spirit of life itself, persevering against all odds in the face of ceaseless peril. As the silence stretched on, Oren couldn't help but steal a glance at the lone human student. Though their outward appearance was unassuming, she now saw them through new eyes. Eyes that recognized the quiet strength and remarkable resilience that had allowed them to thrive on a world as perilous as Earth. Oren now saw the human student with new eyes, recognizing them as the living embodiment of a species that had faced oblivion time and again, only to emerge more resilient and determined to endure. She understood in that moment that humans were not frail, delicate beings, but rather a proud lineage of conquerors who had triumphed over every nightmare their world could unleash. This realization filled her with a profound, if somewhat unsettling, respect. The heavy silence was finally broken by a meek voice from the back of the lecture hall. I think I'd like to transfer planets," the student said. A few nervous titters escaped from the stunned students. The human presenter couldn't help but crack a wry smile. "You're telling me? Forget xenology. I'm thinking perhaps a nice, peaceful accounting degree wouldn't be such a bad idea after all this." The lecture hall erupted with relieved laughter at the human's self-deprecating joke, breaking the tension. Even Professor Xanth chuckled heartily from the front of the room. As the laughter died down, the reptilian student Zelik raised one scaled hand. "So, let me get this straight," he began, drawing out the words skeptically. "Your species has survived on a planet with world-burning wildfires, mountain-sized sea monsters, and mind-controlling serpents by becoming accountants?" The human shrugged nonchalantly. "If we could survive an eternal frozen hellscape like Antarctica, you think a few misfiled tax forms were going to stop us?" This sent the entire room into gales of laughter once more. Orin doubled over, wheezing with mirth at the sheer audacity of the human's quips in the face of such overwhelming revelations. As the laughter finally subsided, the human gave a casual wink in Orin's direction. "Don't sell us short, folks. We Earthlings are a remarkably stubborn bunch, you'll see." Despite the lingering trepidation coursing through her veins, Orin couldn't help but believe them. If humans could face down the worst horrors their death world could devise and make light of it, perhaps there was no challenge too great for their resilient species. She made a mental note to look into transferring to a low-risk career field herself, perhaps xenobotany or theoretical asteroidography. Anything to avoid running into Earth's terrifying bestiary in the flesh.